another video on this courgette pasta. So I'm going to do this again. I thought the first time I did it there wasn't enough courgette. There was 150 grams worth of sliced courgette, and that was the weight before it was fried. So we've doubled that amount, so there's actually 300 grams worth of cooked courgette this time. So there's a lot more, and if this works, I was kind of thinking that if we can do it with courgettes, we can do it with other vegetables. It's just not quite as crispy this time, but that'll be fine. We'll just give it a bit of heat and get it moving around before we add the cheese, so it's dispersed. But if we can do it with courgettes, then I think we could do it with like fried onions or fried carrots, you know, or anything that we could cut into julienne. We could do exactly the same thing with. So it smells good. So it's 170 grams worth of pasta. It's 300 grams worth of just the outside of the courgettes. We just need a little bit more water. And then it's going to be 80 grams worth of cheese. Now, courgettes used a lot of oil to kind of cook off, so it's like half a litres worth of oil that I've used for the courgettes. So I didn't. I was thinking about using some kind of animal fat and maybe throwing in a bit of bacon in there, but that's just too much. Too much. I think it'd just be far too greasy. So that was my thoughts anyway. So what we're going to do? Yeah. So I'm not going to use the animal fat. I just kind of think it'd just be too much. So temperature is off. Yeah. The gas is off. So 80 grams worth of just hard Italian cheese. It's nondescript. It's not. It won't be either pecorino or Parmesan. It won't be either of those. It's just a burrata, which is a description for a hard Italian cheese. Oh, that's worked, hasn't it? So that's worked. So it's nice and creamy. Maybe a little bit more liquid because it'll soak that up, and then maybe a little bit more cheese. Maybe we'll up it to 100 grams worth of cheese, just to make it a little bit more creamy, I think. But it's certainly melted all that in. Yeah, let's guess, and we'll put another 20 grams worth of cheese. And then I've saved the insides of the courgettes and I've just cooked them down. So we're just going to have a bit of a, once I've made this and eaten it, because I'm hungry, so I've been swimming. Oh, I never saved any for the top, that's right. So once we've done this, I've eaten it, we'll just faff around with the inside of the courgettes and see if we can make a bit of a puree and a bit of a cheesy sauce. That's lovely. There's that. So, which bowl? Let's use this bowl that had the courgettes drained in it, because I'm trying to make less washing up. Because all I seem to do is just make lots of washing up. So then, that out of the way, so that's safe. I'm not going to make a mess. And then twiddly do. So I think a better amount of courgettes. Although you know, I had to get the 300 grams worth of courgettes, you've got to buy like a kilo of courgettes, which is a lot. Let's see if we can get one with a better amount of courgette. That's what we wanted. That's what we wanted, that's better. Because we really want to kind of see that courgette. So, I won't use that one. I'll use this one. And then we'll take a picture. I will use this one to take a picture. There we go. It'd be nice if we had some bits at the top. But you can see, at the bottom we have creamy sauce. So that has worked. Just haven't got any crispy bits. Can we cheat a little bit? Let's just shave those off there. So we'll take a picture and then we'll be back with a taste. Right, so let's give it a taste. I mean, it's not, because I've had to buy a kilo of courgettes to kind of get 300 grams worth of the outside, it's not a cheap dish anymore. So if you want it cheap, obviously just slice the courgettes rather than julienne them. That's even better with even more courgette. So that's good, that's delicious, that works. But it needs a lot of courgette if you're going to do it with julienne. You know, like if you've got time of year now that there's like just lots of courgettes in the garden growing. So now would be a really good time to do it, and then do something with the centre of the courgettes. Pure those down, make a soup, but the outsides, do that. That's delicious. I'm going to enjoy that. Actually, I've got some fried breadcrumbs. Let's just add a few fried breadcrumbs, and let's see how, because you can't, maybe just like a little bit of crunch would be nice. Certainly the breadcrumbs fried in that oil that the courgette was cooked in. Yep, even nicer. Just needs that little bit of crunch, so just some fried breadcrumbs on top. I'll take another picture. Just some fried breadcrumbs on top. Just for a little bit of crunch. This is the cooked courgettes, the insides. So the courgette hearts, is that about right? Or just the pappy stuff. That's what I normally call it. So there's 250 grams worth of there. There's probably more before we started, but we've cooked it, so we've lost some in moisture. And then there's 50 grams worth of cheese. So we need to puree this and see what happens. Turn the blender on. So that's pureed kind of quite nicely, isn't it? I don't want to use it all. Let's just, I don't know, let's use part of it. So let's weigh 100 grams in this pan, and then we'll heat it in the pan, I think, and then we'll add some cheese to it and see what happens. But I think we might just be able to make some kind of, a bit of a cheesy sauce out of the vegetable puree and the pureed courgettes. Slightly over 100 grams. So, on top of the dirty cooker, because it's always dirty because I'm always cooking, and then I need something to give it a stir with. That'll do. Yep, lost that. So, it will have lost a little bit of heat, so we want to get it back up to temperature. I suppose we could have put it in the microwave, couldn't we? But yeah. Let's just heat it and then put half that cheese in and see what happens. So you don't need, well, do you need to see it heating up? No, not really. So we'll pause. Right, I think that's hot enough to melt cheese. So I'm going to sneeze. So what we're going to put in a, what's about a quarter? That's about a quarter. Let's put that in there and give it a mix around and see what happens. It shouldn't split because we've turned the heat off. So let's put more cheese in. Let's put half the cheese in. Ish. See what happens. And then we'll kind of know if we can make a cheesy sauce out of it to put the pasta. So we could cook some pasta and we could put it in this cheesy kind of sauce, which I was faffing with something similar, and I found it was really kind of quite difficult to the cheese not to split and to make it cheesy enough because of the heat. You can't heat the cheese up once you put it in with the pasta and the vegetables, and it was just a little bit more complicated. But if we can make a creamy cheesy sauce out of the courgette hearts, then that might just be a little interesting. I don't know what practical implications this has, but I'm just curious. That's lovely. You know, consume that's just courgettes and a bit of salt and a bit of cheese. That's lovely. It's creamy. So we could, let's add some more cheese. Let's see if we can get with a bit more cheese. So we could so what was I kind of thinking? So I could potentially, if I was doing vegetables like courgettes in a cheese sauce, what you could do is you could just use the outside of the courgettes to julienne them, cook those, and then use the centres to make a bit of a cheesy sauce, and then add that cheesy sauce to the cooked courgettes, and then we wouldn't have to make a roux, would we? Which is what I did. So I kind of made a roux. It's very cheesy. It's not smooth. It's not smooth. It's got a little bit of graininess to it, but that's because it's a vegetable, and it's never going to get smooth unless we put it through a sieve, and I can't bother with that. So if I was to do the leeks and cheese sauce again, that's very cheesy, that's lovely, reading more cheese in. If I was to do the courgettes in the cheese sauce again, we could do it that way, which is interesting. But I don't know kind of what practical applications it's got. But to be honest, most of the things that I do are purely for my own interest, and it's just a way of documenting things. And if someone's interested in them, then that's kind of a bonus. But most of it is just for my own curiosity. The idea of having to do something, like I see some people and they just do videos because that's what they think the audience kind of wants to watch. I couldn't do that. I'd just get bored. I wouldn't be very interested at all. But anyway, that's more about me than anything else. So that's interesting, and just a bit of a throwaway giveaway thing. But so we've learned something, and we might be able to use that in something else in the future, because now we know how it works and that it works, and we could potentially use it in the future. Yeah, there we go. A success.